What if the money in your wallet is not really under your control? What if the choices you believe are personal, what you buy, what you save, what you owe, are quietly shaped by forces you never see and never question? Most people think money problems come from bad habits, poor decisions, or lack of discipline. But what if the real reason feels invisible because it was designed that way? Today's story is not about secret groups or wild theories. It is about systems so normal that we stop noticing them, yet powerful enough to decide how rich or poor your future becomes. For most of human history, money was simple. It was physical. Gold, silver, land, or goods had value because they were scarce and tangible. If you held it, you owned it. If you lost it, it was gone. There was no invisible layer between your work and your wealth. But that changed slowly, quietly, and permanently. The change did not happen overnight. It happened step by step, hidden behind convenience, trust, and promises of stability. The first major shift came when banks realized they did not need to keep all the money people deposited. They noticed that not everyone would ask for their gold at the same time. So banks began lending out more money than they actually had. This system became known as fractional reserve banking. On paper, it looked efficient. In reality, it meant money could be created from debt. Every loan created new money, and every repayment destroyed it. From that moment on, money was no longer just a store of value. It became a tool of control. As governments grew larger and wars became more expensive, they needed more money than taxes could provide. Borrowing became normal. Central banks were created to manage interest rates, control inflation, and stabilize economies. But stability came with a cost. Once money was tied to debt, growth became mandatory. If the economy stopped growing, the system would collapse under its own weight. This meant people had to keep spending, borrowing, and consuming whether it benefited them or not. Over time, money lost its connection to real value. When countries left the gold standard, money became purely symbolic. It existed because governments said it did. Central banks could now print or digitally create money whenever they wanted. This power was supposed to protect economies during crises. Instead, it became a permanent solution to every problem. Whenever markets slowed down, more money was injected. Whenever debt became too heavy, interest rates were lowered. The pain was delayed, not solved. This is where your wallet enters the story. When new money is created, it does not reach everyone equally. It flows first to banks, corporations, financial markets, and governments. Prices of assets like stocks, real estate, and businesses rise quickly. Those who already own assets become richer. Those who rely on wages fall behind. By the time new money reaches everyday people, prices have already gone up. Food costs more. Rent increases. Education becomes expensive. Your wallet shrinks, even if your salary rises slightly. This is not an accident. It is a cause and effect cycle. Cheap money encourages borrowing. Borrowing increases asset prices. Rising prices force people to take more debt. Debt locks people into long-term financial dependence. Mortgages, student loans, credit cards, and buy-now-pay-later plans become normal parts of life. Freedom slowly turns into obligation. Then comes the breaking point. Every system based on endless growth eventually hits limits. Debt becomes too large. Inflation becomes visible. Trust begins to fade. Central banks raise interest rates to control prices. Suddenly, loans become expensive. Businesses slow down. Jobs disappear. The same system that encouraged borrowing now punishes it. Ordinary people feel the pain first. History shows this pattern again and again. The Great Depression, the 1970s inflation crisis, the 2008 financial crash. Each time, the solution was the same: print more money, bail out institutions, and promise reforms. Each time, the root problem remained untouched. Debt kept growing. Inequality widened. The system survived, but people paid the price. After every crisis, new rules were introduced, regulations were promised, safeguards were announced. But most fixes treated symptoms, not causes. Banks became bigger. Financial products became more complex. Risk was hidden behind technical language. The average person was told not to worry, not to ask questions, and to trust the experts. Meanwhile, the invisible forces grew stronger. Today, technology has made these forces even harder to see. Digital payments feel effortless. One click replaces physical money. Algorithms decide what you buy, what you see, and how much you pay. Dynamic pricing adjusts costs based on demand, location, and behavior. Inflation quietly reduces your purchasing power. Subscriptions drain your account monthly without notice. You feel busy, stressed, and confused, but you blame yourself. Modern data shows the same repeating pattern. Wages rise slowly, asset prices rise fast, debt levels reach record highs, savings lose value over time. People work more hours, but feel less secure. The system requires constant participation. Opting out feels impossible. Even survival depends on playing the game. So what does this mean for you? It means your wallet is not controlled by a single person or organization. It is controlled by incentives built into the system. These incentives reward borrowing, punish saving, and prioritize growth over stability. Once you understand this, confusion turns into clarity. The first takeaway is awareness. When you know the system is designed around debt and inflation, you stop blaming yourself for everything. You start asking better questions. Why am I encouraged to spend instead of save? Why does money lose value over time? Why does debt feel unavoidable? The second takeaway is strategy. You cannot change the system alone, but you can learn how to move within it. Understanding inflation, interest rates, and asset ownership helps you protect your future. Knowledge becomes a form of defense. The third takeaway is perspective. Money is a tool, not a measure of worth. The system benefits from fear, urgency, and ignorance. Calm thinking and long-term planning weaken its control over you. The warning is simple. If you never question how money works, you will always feel behind, no matter how hard you work. The system does not need your permission to operate, but it relies on your participation without understanding. And the open question remains. Now that you can see the invisible forces shaping your wallet, will you keep reacting to them more? Will you start responding with intention? If this video made you think differently about money, support the channel by liking, subscribing, and sharing it with someone who feels stuck financially but doesn't know why. The more people understand the system, the less invisible it becomes. Because once you see the forces controlling your wallet, they lose their greatest power: silence.